video clip or an audio clip, and this should ring a bell with most movie buffs. And then we'll get in. This is just going to set the tone.
This last case, which is not quite the same as a lot of the other cases, because this was actually a case where there was pretty great police work, right?
It was some good police work.
Okay.
It was some good police work, but
right. But it reminds us of this. It
reminds us of this little audio clip
from Dale's favorite movie.
Was that My Cousin Vinny?
There you go.
Mona Lisa Vito.
My Cousin Vinny.
Yes.
So let me set the case, Dave. We get a call, or the officers get a call.
You mean the real case, or My Cousin Vinny?
No, My Cousin Vinny. You got to watch the movie.
They're driving through Georgia. Is it Georgia or Alabama? It's Alabama, right? Because of the mud.
Probably. It's down south.
They're driving down south. Anyway, all right, go ahead. So
they're driving down south, and they
we know what
they get arrested, and they have an expert on scene
don't ruin it. Don't ruin it for our movie.
How old is the movie? About 30 years old, Nate?
Sure. Yeah. I don't know. Are we talking about the movie right now or the case?
We're going to talk about the case.
All right, talk about the case.
All right. So the case is they get a call for a guy down, unresponsive.
Man down, unresponsive.
Man down. 5 a.m.
5 a.m.
Cop shows up. Calls an ambulance, simple medical aid, according to the police officer. A few minutes later, as they're putting the man in the ambulance, and it doesn't look good, he's got a bad head injury. The officer assumes he fell. A newspaper delivery rolls up to the driver, and says, "Hey, I was just in the area. I saw that guy walking. He went behind a building. I see in my rearview mirror 2 or 3 guys running from behind that building. They jump into a car and they take off." He tells the police officer, and the police officer says, "Get out of here. It's a medical aid." And the guy says to the cop, "Why are his pockets turned inside out?" Like they were stealing his wallet or something like that. And the cop yells at him, and the guy leaves.
Oh, sounds like
the witness leaves.
Sounds like the cop was having a bad day.
Having a bad day. He didn't have his coffee or his donut, and it was like 5 or 6 in the morning.
All right.
So let's fast forward a couple of hours.
Yeah.
The crime analysis unit comes in, and they're aware of some certain crimes that have been occurring in the North Shore area over the past week of people randomly getting beat up and robbed.
Okay, this is in that town, right? The crime.
Yes.
His fellow officers from his department say, "What the heck is going on here?"
Yeah.
With this
That's
guy
not a medical aid. I think something might have happened to that guy.
Okay.
So what they do is they look at one of the cases where a guy was walking down the street, randomly a couple of, 20-year-olds jumped him, beat him up, stole his wallet. Well, they ran the debit card that he stole out of his wallet, called the debit card company. The debit card company gave information where it was used, a local convenience store. The police officers went there, viewed the video, and saw 3 or 4 males in the store using his debit card.
And I have to say, at this point, I got to just turn to Nathan and say, Nathan, they were following the evidence.
Yeah.
They started out with...
They still didn't catch me, though.
They had nothing. And then they got the suspicion. And then they followed it up with good police work.
Oh, yeah.
And they went from... They went from the credit card. They went to the convenience store. And then in the convenience store... Go ahead.
We got some videotape. Unfortunately, no one can identify the 3 guys in the store. They're in their 20s, 3 men in the store. However, as you look into the parking lot, there's kind of a grainy picture of a car, and they jump into a car. Well, unbeknownst to most people in the police department, there is a car expert that works in this department. He used to work out on the CVS Good Samaritan. He was out on the road. He knows every car. He was a car buff. He knows every make and model of every car from like 1920 to present day.
Like Mona Lisa Vito.
Yeah. So they show him the video. He looks at the car. It's a little grainy picture. He goes, "That's a burgundy Toyota Camry. 1998 to 2004, should have a square back, and it might even have a little spoiler on the back because the Camrys, that time span, if they were burgundy, had a little spoiler on the back of the vehicle."
Did he at some point turn to the officer and the other fellow officer and say, the defendant's case doesn't hold water?
No, I think people were looking at him and saying, like,
Oh, it was a fucking horrible accent, but you had the spirit.
Yeah, I think initially everyone was looking at him like, there's no way this guy's right. Well, they put a bolo out, be on the lookout, officers in the local area, and we just happen to have a state police crime scene unit in the area investigating because the individual who was assaulted wasn't expected to live. He did live,
okay,
but he wasn't expected. So they had the state police crime scene unit.
Murder, yeah,
was in the area.
Killing. Maybe not a murder, but killing. Okay.
And they put the bolo out. A couple hours later, state trooper spots the car in that city. Exact car that was described, a burgundy, like 2002 Toyota Camry with a little spoiler on the back. 3 nitwits in the car, the 3 guys that were in the store, and 1 girl in the back seat.
Wow.
They brought them all in. 2 of them were hardcore criminals. They couldn't get anything out of them. But a guy and a girl were interviewed, and they spilled their beans, and they said it was us, and we did the other 4 or 5 robberies in the past week. And that crime was solved. Probably wouldn't have been solved if it wasn't for that police officer who knew cars.
That's hysterical.
Yeah.
That's just, and I just get asked this. It was a color video.
It was, but it was just kind of grainy. It wasn't. It was. Camera was from the inside going through a door to the outside.
But the cop could tell the color because he could see the color.
Well, he could because he knew the certain colors of the Toyota
Camry.
Was
one of them, so he could.
Yeah, he's like, well, they only made it in burgundy. They made it in burgundy, white, and blue.
Only one other make of lime green. What was the make of the car? Whatever it was. Anyway, that's really impressive. Yeah. That's really impressive.
So it turned out to be a Keystone cop moment, but fortunately, there was a couple of cops in the department who had their shit together, and they were able to solve the crime.
That's cool. All right, we got time for one more. You got a good one for us on a lighter note?
Yeah, I'm not sure which one I should do. We got the house for sale where the cop shows up and there's a guy breaking into the house, but he says he's the what do you call it, the
broker.
Not the broker, but the guy who's doing the home inspection.
Oh, he's the home inspector.
B&E to a pawn shop, but and another cop pulling up on scene in which he pulls in a little bit too fast and he hits a cop getting out of his cruiser. I don't think any of those hold water to the one I've decided to tell.
Are you saying it doesn't hold? Nathan, can you do it?
Hold water?
So the one I think that we're going to end it on a lighter side.
He's got no idea what we're talking about.
I don't. I have no idea.
You haven't seen My Cousin Vinny?
I have, but I don't remember it. Because I was stoned.
There's something for you to do next time. All right. Anyway.
So this is definitely a Keystone cop moment. In a specific town, around 10 in the morning, officers responded to a house break. And a couple of officers responded, and the vehicle in question had already left the area, but it was a dark-colored vehicle with a couple of males in it with New York license plate. All right?
Yep, the key.
New York license. That's the key here.
I tell you this. Can't we just assume anybody driving in Massachusetts with New York plates is probably a murderer?
So the cops show up and they put a bolo out for a dark-colored vehicle with New York license plates. Yep. And this podcast is coming out of Massachusetts. So a New York plate in a Massachusetts town at 10 in the morning, and if it's dark-colored, would probably be suspicious.
Right. Yeah. Well, you might think it's a college. If it's a college town, you might think it's so, but it would stand out.
Yeah, absolutely.
It would stand out.
So they put the bolo out. And there's an officer on a private detail in that area, and this vehicle drives up to the officer and says, "Hey, officer, good morning." He goes, "Yeah, what's going on? What can I do for you?" He goes, "Hey, we just came off the interstate and we're lost. Could you direct us back to the interstate?" So the officer says, "Sure. Go down here, take a left, go down a couple of 100 yards, take a right. You're going to run right into the interstate." And he sends them on their way to the interstate. Unbeknownst to him, see, he didn't have his radio on. He had his iPhone with some headphones in, and he was listening to some music. So he didn't hear the bolo. So he basically, the people who broke into the house, he gave them directions back on the interstate, and they were gone, never to be seen again. And what came of that? What came of that was a new policy in this department that officers on detail cannot listen to their iPhones with the earbuds in. Yeah. You can listen to your phone if you want to put it next to your, up in your jacket or something and just listen to the speaker, but you can't have your earbuds in. Because like I said, he missed the bolo because all he was listening to was a little rock and roll, baby. When they were rocking and rolling and ripping off the neighborhood that he was working in.
That is kind of hysterical.
He never, for the years that he was on the department, he never lived that down.
Yeah.
That was always a joke.
Oh,
Always a joke.
Yeah.
That joke is funny 30 years from now.
What's the dumbest thing you've ever done?
Oh, my God.
On duty.
Dumbest thing I've ever done on duty. I think we were having a rash of car breaks, and I was coming home from dinner. It was like 9 o'clock at night, and I was in a cruiser.
And somebody asked me directions.
No, and I'm driving down the street, and I see a guy I thought was breaking into a car, but I'm at a stop sign in a kind of residential neighborhood. So I shut my lights off so he doesn't turn around and see me. And I'm about ready to call it in, and I see him jump into a car. So I go through the stop sign, and I get in a car accident because I forgot I was at a stop sign.
And did you have your lights on?
I had my lights were off, and there was it was in the summer. There was a whole bunch of people walking down the street, and they all started yelling at me. It's a cop. He didn't have his lights on. What are you? They were just berating me. And this was probably 10 years ago when people actually liked cops.
Right.
Imagine doing
Bullshit.
that.
No one liked cops 10 years ago.
They liked them more than
still suck.
They liked them more than they did now. So yeah, I couldn't live that one down either.
That's and was the guy who
Yeah, no one was injured, fortunately.
the car thief.
No, he wasn't a car thief. It was his car. He was just grabbing something out of his car and he was going somewhere else. Yeah.
It could have happened to anybody.
It probably could have.
But it happened to you.
It happened to me.
And so now we know.
Yeah.
So I
would think that's probably the stupid. That was my Keystone Cop moment. That's pretty stupid to do that.
That's yeah.
Because you don't want to put people's life in danger because you're trying to catch someone doing something. Breaking into a car isn't that big of a crime. It's only material stuff. It's material stuff.
But I get it because it's happening in front of you. You think, oh,
let me catch him. Turn the lights off. Let me creep down the street so he doesn't hear me. He doesn't see me. Yeah. And then I'll get him right when he least expects it.
I once thought I had a similar thing. I was going to make a citizen's arrest. I thought I was making a citizen's arrest.
Citizen's arrest.
I jumped on the
bad guy.
The bad guy. All right, the alleged shoplifter. And his elementary school teacher started yelling at me. Apparently there was a field trip of the first grade. And anyway, so I didn't make the citizen's arrest that time.
See, this is why I commit crime. I don't stop it. I know my role. I'm no hero. I'm the one who takes the shit.
I can see that certainly makes sense because I've seen your sweatshirts. I've seen the odd shapes coming out of the pockets. And all right, we're going to move on. Anyway, we're going to wrap it up.
Yeah, we're going to wrap it up, Dave.
All right, so it's insidetheline.org, www, or Real Stories by Real Cops at gmail.com. I'm Dave Rattigan. That's Dale Lawrence. This is Nathan Arroyo. Thanks for listening. And just remember, if you're a cop and you do something really stupid, if nobody knows about it, it didn't happen.